boys sprouted on tree branches like overgrown fruit, their coats and caps giving them unpredictable shapes. Discarded newspapers and crumpled cigarette packs cushioned the plaza's uneven stones, which more than a century before ran with the blood of a king and queen who lost their heads to the heavy blade of Dr. Guillotine. A sturdy middle-aged woman with apple cheeks stopped before him. She looked into his face. Her smile was sad. She took a step and embraced him through their overcoats, then pulled back and looked down. A tear stood on her cheek. He gripped her shoulders and leaned down. "Peace," he said, more urgently than he intended. She pulled a wadded handkerchief from her sleeve and snorted into it. When she walked away, he noticed the small tricolor flag on a stick that trailed from her other hand. He guessed that someone she lost must have been tall and fair, like him. Drab civilian clothes looked shabby next to the immaculate uniforms of the soldiers who swarmed the plaza. French blue jackets and scarlet trousers mingled with American olive. The khaki of Britain and Australia receded from the eye when a Sikh platoon marched by with gleaming ivory turbans and extravagant whiskers. A Greek officer in blinding white and a pleated skirt nodded to a soldier sporting a fez and a jacket of red and green embroidery. The soldiers strutted like peacocks, men who had somehow survived the firestorm that killed millions in shin-high mud. An unshaven man swung by on crutches, his rhythm steady. Fraser had grown used to empty trouser legs, armless sleeves, faces rearranged by bullet or blast. An overage gendarme waved a baton in Fraser's direction. He wanted the crowd to climb out of the street, back onto the curb. Wilson's procession must be getting close. Fraser shrugged helplessly. Too many bodies pressed behind him. The gendarme shrugged back, then walked on. Rising on his toes to peer over the crowd toward the Champs-Élysées, Fraser noticed a woman behind him with each arm over a small child. He gestured for them to move in front of him for a better view. The children slid efficiently into place. The mother nodded thanks as he took a half-step back. Cannon erupted, a steady pounding of the great guns that Fraser never wanted to hear again. The crowd had no such feeling. Their cheers began to the right of him and surged across the plaza. Outstretched hands waved small flags. The people around him picked up the cry of "Vive Wilson!" With only a few military vehicles in the vanguard, the procession slowly made its way toward Fraser. Without a thought, his arms shot up and his voice joined the thundering, wordless shout. They were shouting victory. They were shouting survival. For months, his smiles had been only sympathetic or sardonic. He broke into a boy's carefree grin. His grinding fatigue lifted. The president stood easily in an open car, one arm hailing the crowd with his glossy top hat. He acknowledged the cheers with a broad smile, teeth glistening like rows of fresh headstones. Turning from side to side, he and the crowd were two poles of a giant magneto. Energy surged from one to the other and back. Wilson loomed larger than Fraser expected, square-shouldered, made larger by this welcome worthy of an emperor returned from conquest. The car drew even with Fraser. Wilson's eyeglasses reflected the silver sky as he pivoted Fraser's way. An ocean of sound burst around them, engulfing everyone within its reach. Nothing could restrain it. It was hope. Fraser shouted louder. He strained forward, reaching to the tall, graceful man. Wilson was a master of the ultimate weapon, intoxicating words. He used them to promise peace. In his glorious 14-point speech, he laid down rules for the post-war world. Secret diplomacy, he insisted, must end. Individual citizens and communities must determine their own futures. Arms races must end. People must be free to trade with each other, not limited by artificial constraints. Most important for him, all nations must join in a single organization that would guarantee peace and independence to great and small states alike. Some reacted skeptically to this storm of American idealism. Georges Clemenceau, Premier of France, noted dryly that God may do with 10 commandments. But Wilson's words promised that the years of carnage were not simply